Okay, this is day 172, part 2 of the Awan Brotherhood. We all know about the three Awan brothers and the two wives and their living arrangements down in Lorton, Virginia, as well as their rentals near Springfield, Virginia. But then there's this fourth Awan that may or may not be a brother, but a brother in spirit, but not a brother in blood. But I wanted to focus on that because Omar Awan still works for the Congress, and I wanted to also kind of show the proximity to the other Awans. So again, I wouldn't be going through this with the Awans if the stepmother wasn't imprisoned, if they weren't threatened with kidnapping and killing of their relatives in Pakistan. Like I said, I am not making idle statements here. I interviewed someone in Montreal who was almost married to a person in the ISI, Al-Qaeda, both a police officer and then Al-Qaeda at night sort of thing. It's not pretty. This is hardball. So these are not idle threats when they say they will kill and kidnap. So again, all the pictures of, Dying Corps trained police, as well as the jihadi imagery, as well as the weapons and so forth, just running throughout the Imran Awan's pages and so forth. So I talked about the Marine here. I talked about interviewing the Marine on the steps of the Hawkshead Drive here in Lorton, about the stolen Blackberries, about the stolen laptops. Okay, so everyone knows that story. I don't know if the reporters I gave it to are going to cover the story or not, because it's pretty explosive. But yesterday I went to Lightbridge Communications, conveniently out of business now. As you saw me try to find them on the building directory yesterday. Bought by Mahindra out of India, again through intermediaries. Dawood Ibrahim. Dawood is spelled D-A-W-O-O-D. Ibrahim is the guy. He is ISI. He is the guy running the drug trade. He started it in Mumbai, India, buying Pakistani processed opium and shipping it to the United States through a variety of intermediaries. One of them's one of Hillary's big contributors. He moved the business with this mango diplomacy and so forth. He moved the business to Lahore, and that was the beginning of the new dawn. So that is all these organizations that people who came and stayed with Imran Awan, like Mohammed Hunsla, who was ISI military, Pakistani military, also worked for Lightbridge. They came in, they moved into this house, they stayed here for a while. LCC was the cover, they got a badge and so forth. They went into different government locations and did work. I don't know exactly what work they did yet. We need to pull LCC's contracts. Obviously they didn't do it as Nanosec Technologies, they did it as LCC. Cellplan, I think, is just a bogey. I went to Cellplan yesterday, never heard of Imran. But LCC was a going concern and did do a lot of government contracting, especially in the wireless space and WiMAX space. So this is hacking wireless networks. It's also hacking phones for text type information. So here's Omar Awan, still working for, this is right off of Inside Gov, still working for the House of Representatives, making $146,511. Excuse me, that should be $146,511. Here's his page, his own LinkedIn page, which says Strategy, Policy, Planning, U.S. House of Representatives. I don't know if that means the policies toward Pakistan or not. I think Omar may be the good guy in this situation, though. But I would like to know what, I think he's mainly doing economic planning. But it'd be interesting if he was involved in any USAID loans to Bangladesh, or USAID grants to Bangladesh and Pakistan. Also, I believe he's associated with two different addresses. Omar Awan now, this is a picture of him and his family. Omar Awan is associated, here's where I was talking to the Marine at 9667, where the BlackBerries and the stolen laptops were. Just across the freeway over here at 9780 Hagel Circle, I believe, is where Omar stayed when he came to Washington to work. Now, his family's in Fredericksburg, Maryland, which is about, I think, about 60 to 70 miles from here. But it's a long commute in the morning, so I believe he would have stayed here during the week while Congress was in session anyway. Congress is not in session today, but, you know, when they work about half of the year, so I believe he would come down here to 9780 Hagel Circle. So I do believe he knew the Awans. I believe if he says he didn't, I find that hard to believe. Not that many Muslims working in Congress. I believe he's a U.S. citizen, though. And then there's also this 7455 Wounded Knee Road location as well. Unfortunately, I didn't get to the Hagel address. I didn't get to the Wounded Knee Road, but all of them are going to be associated with Imran Awan again. So this theory, this working theory I've had, which is there's a lot of these cutout safe houses or whatever that people come into from Pakistan to work, and then work for a company like LCC, Lightbridge Communications, work for a while and then leave without leaving any footprints, no physical location, home footprints, and no car footprints. The other thing I find with all of these addresses is there's always a limousine service within walking distance. I mean, sometimes right next door. That's true at the Hawkshead location. That's true at the Hagel location. It's almost true at every location that I've looked up. There's one of these limousine services. My working theory is they're not only bringing in people in the high-tech community, which is for doing hacking or whatever they're doing. Usually when you bring somebody in under false pretenses, they're doing some kind of hacking. But they're also bringing in more of kind of operatives. And these are operatives like DynCorp operatives. And what I'm going to say here relates specifically to DynCorp, not necessarily to Omar or any of the people that are hosting these people. This is compartmentalized. The people here think, hey, I'm just trying to give a new opportunity to some kid in Pakistan. I'm trying to get him started in the United States. And so there's a compartmentalization. Then they get the limo drivers, again, trying to get established in the United States and so forth, teach them how to drive, etc. They're going around, they're starting to pick up people, elites usually. Elites are just people with lower moral standards. I don't mean elite in any way like moral superiority or somehow more intelligent. I just mean they have lower moral standards. But they drive these elites around. Now, unfortunately, DynCorp has a history again and again and again, and I can't count how many countries. It just came out again with an AP report with 2,000 cases in Haiti and also Congo, and I've mentioned both of those previously. That it's DynCorp, it's this running broken record of child abuse. And what they do is they abduct kids like this for elites and then drug them. They can either gas them or drug them, give them something to drink or whatever in the back of these limousines. And most of these crimes that against children are actually going to be happening when you're talking about elites, are going to be happening in the back of limousines. Why? Because there's no people getting out, there's no people getting in, no photographs and so forth. It's no muss, no fuss. The driver just goes to location A. The elites get picked up in the limo. That's something that people see every day. The kid's already in there. Then the driver drives the elites back home and then goes back home. That's why the limo services are being used in this kind of abduction network. Now, you may notice this kid looks El Salvadoran or Guatemalan, and Omar looks Pakistani, as well as his daughter's. This daughter looks kind of like his daughter, but this one doesn't. What happens a lot with DynCorp is these folks are basically secret police to satisfy elites or the power elite, and they will do anything to either compromise those elites or please those elites. They don't work for you and me. It's like Rockefeller's Pinkertons. They work for Rockefeller. The DynCorp does not work for this kid or anyone else. They work for the elites in Washington, D.C. What many times happens is our diplomats, now not all, I'm just saying there's a few. It's always the guy in the back with the sunglasses and the beard and the baseball hat over his eyes. but they're the ones that do the finding. They go find kids like this. This is Gus Awan. They go find kids like this, and what they'll do is they'll do a night invasion. They'll do a home invasion. They gas the house. Everyone's asleep, and they do what they call slip knotting. Now, I don't have proof of this. Just like Gary Webb used to say, I'm reporting on covert activities. Do you think they publish all this stuff? No. The reason I'm saying this is so that the people on Vote and other places know the modus operandi. The slip knotting is I garrot the child, and again, the child is under a sarin type gas or some type of disabling gas. I garrot the child so they have an ischemic event in their brain. The good part about an ischemic event, and I say that in kind of a macabre way, is it doesn't affect any of the internal organs that you might want to harvest later on, but it does cause these dead spots in the brain, and it causes problems. Now that's exactly what happened to Gus. Now the doctors, they see these white blotches on the MRIs, and they don't know what to make of it, so they say, well, maybe he must have had an ischemic event in the womb, because the parents don't ever remember any event ever occurring. So that's the only plausible alternative left, but they're ruling out the fact that a finder saw this kid down in Colombia as a 3-year-old, 4-year-old, whatever. I'm not saying Gus, I'm just saying in general. They cause these ischemic events where these kids they go to the parents, they go to the parents and say, hey, let's help your child out, and get him into a home situation, and that eventually the home goes to, they won a scholarship in the United States. Isn't that a great idea? And then adoption. So that's all for today. I just wanted to cover Omar Awan.